back to Black Talk Today podcast, and I'm your host, Troy. Thank you for rocking out with me. Once again, you can be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. Much appreciated. A lot to get into in this particular podcast, a lot of topics to cover that I feel is very important that be discussed here. Once again, God bless everybody out there. If you find yourself in a safe space, pray for somebody else to be in a safe space as well. We got to start looking out for one another. Each one got to start teaching one, and that's just the way it got to be. That's the way it ought to be, because that's what benefits us all. Again, a lot to get into here, and listen, we're going to take this slow. Not going to rush this. This is the real deal Holyfield, as they used to say back in the 90s. Shout out to Evander Holyfield. But let's get into Jayland Walker. That was a very, very troubling particular situation and case that's not actually under investigation right now. If you don't know, Jayland Walker was gunned down by Ohio PD. And again, the video is very graphic. If you haven't saw it, the man was shot over 60 times. Facts are still coming out about the matter from the videos that I saw and the information that has been released through the press. The police were attempting to pull Mr. Walker over, and they weren't able to do so. He fled. As he was fleeing in the vehicle, he did discharge his firearm at least once that I can see in the actual video that was released. And once they actually pulled his vehicle over, he then proceeded to run. And I'm assuming that law enforcement felt that he was still a threat. They didn't know that he no longer had his handgun on him. But at any rate, he fled. And they shot him like 60 times. And again, this is under investigation. I tell folks all the time, sometimes you got to know when to fold. You got to know when you're outgunned, you're caught, you committed a crime or whatever you've done, and law enforcement is trying to engage you. It's a lose-lose situation for anybody, especially when it comes to African Americans in this country, here in America. They're not playing with us. They're not giving us no reprieve. They're not giving us the benefit of the doubt. They're shooting, and it's what it is. Some folks say it's prejudice. Some folks say it's racist. This is the institution, and I'm not saying it's right that it's this way, but how do you change it? We have to figure out a way to change the interactions that police have in minority communities, particularly black communities. And again, why run? Why run? What makes you think you're going to get away? There's no getting away. I tell folks this all the time. When police are in pursuit of you and they're trying to apprehend you, arrest you, to resist, to run, it's a lose-lose situation. It doesn't work out in our favor. And I don't know how many more times and opportunities we need to see where black men and black women are in the same positions as other groups of races of people in the sense of crimes that may be committed and don't get the very same treatment that they would get. And again, I'm not saying it's right, but this is just what it is and the way it's been for a very long time in this country. I don't see it changing anytime soon. But in the meantime, what can we do as a community? What can we do to interact better with law enforcement? I'm not one to sit here and say we don't need police. I'm not one to sit here and say cops are bad. We need to get rid of them. They're all racist. That's not me. That's not my wheelhouse, right? This is beyond just training in the Jayland Walker shooting. This is beyond just, assumption that, this man posed a threat to you and others. Again, they were still shooting this man while he was on the ground. And I say this too to folks, like, being in law enforcement is a very difficult job. It's not a job for everybody. And listen, you're signing up basically to put your life on the line for strangers every day, to protect, in some cases, communities that you don't live in, that you have no connection to, especially in this climate and time that we live in now, where there's so much anti-police, anti-law enforcement settlement. You know, we also got to look at things from the other side of the coin too, because there's two sides to every coin, right? Brothers, listen, man, they're not playing with us at the end of the day. Law enforcement, not playing with us. And in some cases, you could say rightfully so. Our communities, extremely violent. And I know other people are going to try to connect the dots and say, well, it's systematic, it's systemic. Yes, there's a lot of factors that play into why black communities are failing, while black communities are inherently violent, and the people that live in those communities most of the time can't elevate or seek any or get any upward mobility. Instead of running from your community, how about making your community better? That's what we got to do as black people, right? We can't look for the police to come into our communities to make it safer. We can't look for the police to come into the community to raise our kids and teach them respect. There's things that we have to do as people to ensure that we are giving the next generation the best opportunity possible to be successful and survive. It's not all about making money. Your wealth is not always in what you can earn as the individual. Your wealth is in your community and your family. And that's very important at the end of the day. But we get far away from that. We don't value that as much as other cultures value that. And that's why you can go into other communities and they don't have a lot of the very same systemic issues. I've seen way too many videos where we put ourselves in vicarious situations and then we want to play professional victims as black people. That needs to stop. Jayland Walker murder was as horrific as it was. He has to hold some accountability into what happened to him. He's responsible for his life. When you make executive decisions to shoot at the police, to run from the police, I mean, what kind of results are we really expecting to get from here? We saw George Floyd choked to death live on camera by the police. So at the end of the day, we have culpability in our communities in a lot of these situations. And I just want black folks to understand that it's going to be on us to save us. It's going to be on us to not raise Jayland Walkers. But it's also going to be on us as a community to hold law enforcement accountable. Regardless of what this man did, right? Police are not supposed to be the judge and jury and executioner of civilians and citizens in this nation. They shot this man in the back several times and continued to shoot him while he was on the ground. And more likely than not, the narrative is going to be they feared for their life. I've seen a man shoot up a 4th of July parade, kill several people, and police apprehend him without fearing for their life, without question. And maybe he didn't resist, but Jayland Walker was fleeing from the police. So y'all was pursuing him. So how much of a threat was someone fleeing than the man who actually did commit murders that you know of? Why isn't the fear the same? Why isn't the response the same? So these are some of the questions that the community is asking, and I'm sure Mr. Walker's family is asking the very same questions. Let's pivot over to the Uvalde police and the atrocious response that they gave to that active shooter in that school down in Texas, Uvalde. There's been a recent video released of officers in the building while this maniac is letting off round after round after round. Killed 20 kids and 2 adults. This man killed 22 people. And cops are right next door, down the hallway, doing nothing. Apparently what's been revealed is that a lot of those officers that was in the hallway in those videos that you saw were waiting for a field commander or someone to give them direction. And the person to lead when there's a situation like this normally is the responding department that initially arrives on scene. The police chief was there at the time of the shooting. He gave no directives, no orders. And mind you, it was over 300 officers that responded from different agencies across the state. And it took over close to an hour for anybody to do anything as those kids were shot, screaming out, wounded, most of them dead. This is a thing that could have been prevented. School shootings is preventable if people just follow up, if people just do their job, if law enforcement do their job, in the sense of knowing that this man already had past interactions with law enforcement, made several comments in the past that he was going to murder family. Even when he was going to school, he was known as the school shooter. He's more likely than not to shoot up a school. Why wasn't there anybody watching anybody like this? Why was he able to still go out and purchase firearms? This maniac even shot his grandmother in the face. See how I'm running everything down to y'all? This is how law enforcement should have ran it down to the proper investigators to ensure that this man has a close eye on him and folks are watching him. And then to make up all the excuses, well, first initially he was engaged by a campus police officer. Campus police officer exchanged gunfire with him. That didn't happen. That's a lie. Then they say, well, you know, one of the faculty members left a door open which allowed this maniac to enter the school. That was a lie. Then they say the reason why they didn't initially breach the room or breach the classroom or engage him was because they were waiting for the proper gear. Are you kidding me? The proper gear? Kids are dying. He's a maniac. And he's shooting over 100 rounds within the first 10 to 20 minutes of y'all being there and him being in the classroom. Well, who else is in the classroom with him? Children. And even if you don't know if he was shooting children or he was just firing his rifle, there's still children in there. So why wouldn't you err on the side of, more likely than not, he's shooting the children? And that's exactly what he was doing. I mean, the more and more information comes out, I can only imagine that the families are going to be more and more disgusted with the details that came out. The recent video that was released, it was released before a lot of the family members who lost their children even saw the video. And in some cases, they released the video with all of the audio. So they didn't edit children crying. They didn't edit the gunshots. So where's the sensitivity at for the family and the victims? Where's the respect for them? Where do you say, hold on here, let me not play that. Let me not release this until the family gets the opportunity to see the video first. And then we'll release it to the public because I understand now Uvalde Police Department wants to be transparent. Well, they weren't so transparent in the beginning. Initially, they start off lying, stumbling, bumbling. And again, these are our most highest trained public officials who's supposed to be able to respond and aid people in a time of need in any situation. There's an exorbitant amount of funds and resources that's funneled to police departments all across this nation. But y'all can't even respond to an active shooter situation down here in a school where children are present. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to me. But not only is it crazy, one parent, what's been revealed is that one of the parents who had a child in the school went into the school and got her child. So she was brave enough to go into the school regardless of the M16 or whatever style rifle that this maniac was using to assassinate and slaughter those children. She did what the police wouldn't do. The police were afraid to engage him. But see, that's what happens when you're a parent. You don't give a damn what the threat is. You know that your baby's in harm's way. You're going to do everything possible to protect your child. And I respect that woman for that. But initially, the police were denying her the right of passage to go into the building. They weren't allowing her to initially go into the building. She had to circumvent and run into the building. So they were stopping her from getting to her child initially, and she was like, that's not going to happen. But to see over 20, 30 law enforcement officials in a hallway while this man is massacring innocent children's lives that we will never get back, that are lost forever. And to know that there's law enforcement that could have aided them. It gets me pissed off because I know what I would have done. Maybe I would have broke rank, right? In the sense of, hey, you know what? It's children in there. Law enforcement, we're supposed to run towards the danger. We're supposed to run towards the gunfire. And I'm not going to sit by and wait until somebody give me a command when I know that there's lives on the line and he's massacring them in that room. Let me put my life on the line. That's what you sign up for when you become a law enforcement official, right? So how is it that none of those officers just said, you know what? We're not getting any kind of say-so or any kind of direction from our commander-in-chief in the first 10 to 15 minutes of y'all being there. Why didn't somebody say, yo, you know what? Yo, you, this is what we're doing. We have to get into that room. We have to engage him. I don't care if we don't have assault rifles. We got to put our lives on the line. There's children in there. We're going in. You go through that way. You go through that way. And when he engage y'all and start shooting at y'all, we're going to flank him and we're going to start shooting at him. Somebody go outside and cover the windows to that classroom that the shooter's in. As soon as he pops up, you take him out. There was none of that. There was no kind of tactical training or response or sense of urgency that these law enforcement departments showed. And if I was a parent, I would be livid. I'll be beyond livid. And if some of those parents feel like those police officers are cowards, I can see why they feel that way. And they have every right to feel that way. There's no way in hell you can explain and justify that response. I say fire everybody who showed up there. But that's what I would do. I'm not in any position like that down there. But just as extreme this situation was, I would give the same kind of extreme response and reaction to what I'm going to do to those officers who were there that day. And the extreme reaction would be, holy, you're fired. There's no transfer into another department. You're done. Bye-bye. You're done. I want new faculty, new officers, trained here, ready to go. This will never happen again. But that's just me, right? That's just me. I don't understand, folks, man. It's just, I pray that this never happens to anybody. I pray that nobody ever have to experience this again here in this country. As much as I know that's not going to help anything, but I just want folks to know that I'm extremely bothered by what happened down in Uvalde, Texas, and how those law enforcement officials failed them. Let's pivot. Black Logic. Black Logic is something that we need to start expounding on and practicing in our community. I saw a video the other day of a black man blocking a white man's driveway with his landscaping trailer. And if you ever own property or anything like that, and you know how much you had to pay, how much you're paying, and just the right to say you're a property owner, you're a home owner, it just gives you a different kind of feel of pride. And I'm not saying that the way this homeowner responded to this situation was the correct and right way, but again, Black Logic. I've seen that video of a black man arguing with a white man who has a assault rifle in his hand, and he's telling this black landscaper, move your trailer, get out of here. Again, he didn't point the rifle at anyone, but he did brandish it. He did have it on his person. And for this black man to go back and forth and argue with this white man, and then to also say, well, you know what, I got guns too, I got a gun too. I'm like, why would you make, and then on top of that, apparently this landscaper had his daughter there present because she was the one apparently who was recording the entire interaction between the two men. Why would you put your daughter at risk? Why would you put your life at risk? Clearly in the video you can see your vehicle, your trailer, is blocking this man's driveway. He has every right to be upset. He has every right to honestly brandish his firearm, brandish his rifle, have his rifle on his person, which he did. Again, he didn't point it. But knowing the climate and time that we in right now, and as a black person, if you're not ready to engage this person right then and there, why you still bumping your gums? He's telling you, move your vehicle and beat it. But see, in our community, a lot of us have to always be right. And a lot of us are making decisions when we're emotional. And that's not a masculine trait of a man, to make decisions when you're emotional and your feelings are involved in it. You're supposed to be a logical thinking, upright person. And what I saw in that video was not a logical thinking, upright person. I saw a man trying to show that he's a tough guy by still arguing with this man who has a rifle ready to shoot your ass. And maybe because his daughter was there, he wanted to show her that he didn't care, he was a tough guy. If the black man felt that threatened, the point is, if he said he had his firearm on him. So if you had your firearm on you too, why didn't you engage him then? Because you knew that that white man was in the right. He didn't break any laws. You were blocking his driveway. So instead of just getting in your truck, parking across the street, apologizing, sir, I apologize, didn't mean to block your driveway, and keep it moving and go about your business, you chose what you chose. Now, there wasn't any shooting. No one got shot, right? But just think how many different ways this could have went. And this is what I say, and this is why I say, where's the black logic? Where's your logic in the black minds today? Because I just don't see it. I just do not see it running through the masses of us. And I'm telling y'all, nobody's playing with black folks. We can still run out here and cut up and kill each other in our community and kill each other, and that's cool. Because it seems like that's just something we do. We just repetitive, same shit over and over again. We don't mind off in the next generation after the next generation after the next generation. Just something we do. But when you step outside of the black community and you bring that bullshit to other communities, they're not standing for it at all. They're going to tell you, take that back to the hood, take that to your community. Y'all deal with that over there. Y'all gang bang, kill, shoot each other over there. But when you step over here, we're not playing with you, and we're going to show you we're not playing with you. But we just don't learn this, folks. We just don't. We hard-headed, hard of hearing. And hard of hearing and being hard-headed is going to do two things. Get you incarcerated. It's going to have you 6 feet under. And how many times we've seen us make decisions that has resulted to us being 6 feet under. When does it stop? When do you want it to stop? Maybe we need more fathers in the home. Yeah, been saying that for the last 50, 60, 70 years. Our women don't even agree with that at this point in time. Nobody's coming to save us, man. I would encourage folks to diversify, if you can, your place of residency, the communities, and the people that live in those communities. Diversify it, meaning go live in another community if you can. Because there's communities where people want to live in peace. And it seems in our communities, we can't have no peace. We can't even live amongst each other in peace. And I'm telling you this from experience. I'm telling you this because the people that a lot of you black folks look up to, they won't tell you this. Why you think they don't live amongst you? Why you think every affluent black person that has any kind of money, I'm not talking about a multi-millionaire, because we know what they do. They go live in a house in the hill away from everybody. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the common person that maybe has aspirations to own a home. So what do? They go to school, educate themselves, get degrees, get jobs that allow them to be able to purchase a home. Where normally they purchase their home at? In diversified communities. Communities where you can raise a family. Communities where you can live in peace. We don't have communities like that anymore. And our communities are predominantly made up of women with children and a bunch of convicts. People who have penitentiary records. And that's the truth. Why is that? Because we settle for that. At some point in time, we got to stop blaming the white man or the boogeyman that's under your bed for all our shortcomings as a group. At some point in time, we're going to have to start being realistic and honest about what we contribute to our own demise. That has to be a conversation. That has to be something that's readily and willfully accepted by the majority of black people before there's any change amongst the group. And what acceptance am I talking about? Accepting accountability of your actions, accepting accountability of your people, and not embracing individualism. No one cares about the individual anymore. We don't need that. That's not beneficial to the group. We need collective elevation, upward mobility. That's what we need. So until that happens, I really don't see anything really happen, to be quite honest. And it tells, because look at a guy like Kevin Gates, big hip hop rapper, willing to go live on TV, or maybe, let me not say live on TV, go on the internet and be interviewed and admit that he didn't have no problem sleeping with his cousin, even after he found out the woman that he was sleeping with was his cousin. How disgusting is that? See, at one point in time, there was a thing called shame. In our community, it used to play a large role in governing what you would do and say and how you would present yourself in public. But we support the filth, we support the ignorance, we support the destruction, we support all the shit that's not a pleasant representation of our group and our community. And we wear it with a badge of honor, and we think people are supposed to respect us if we don't respect ourselves. I used to like Kevin Gates' music. Hasn't made anything that was captivating that made me want to jump up out my seat and want to go buy it. At one point in time, folks were saying he's so woke. He's so woke. He's so smart because he's saying one or two things that you don't understand, or saying things that you might have thought of. There's always these woke folks in our community, in our group, especially these entertainers, who y'all give the benefit of the past to, but you won't give the benefit of the past to another black man in the street. You'll go listen to a stranger who has done nothing to contribute to the elevation of his group, but contribute to the elevation of himself and those around him. And then come on TV and say, look, yeah, I was screwing my cousin, and I didn't mind screwing her because I wasn't going to stop screwing her because that's just who I am. If that isn't a window into a man's character, if that isn't a window into the respect that he has for himself, let alone women, if he's willing to do that, what won't he do? Questions nobody want to ask, because he's Kevin Gates. He's the great Kevin Gates. I tell you, man, we are so low. We are so, our culture and what we contribute, while there are good things and great things, because all is not bad, there's far too much that is bad, though. It's outweighing the good. And I'm tired of it. We give an audience to people because we don't want to be held accountable. And neither does the one that we give the audience to. And we allow them to proliferate all of their trauma on us. And we celebrate them. And we celebrate it. I think for the most part, mental health should be a number one topic that need to be addressed more with seriousness in the black community. Again, I'm not saying we need this utopia or community where everyone's singing Kumbaya and everyone's going to get along. That's never happened back in Africa. Right? There were so many different tribes, and there was this tribe versus that tribe. We didn't get along back home. So what makes you think we're going to get along here? But damn, the filth, the disgusting, is just something that's, and I try to distance myself from it because others will represent you in public. Even if you don't carry yourself like they do, even if you don't conduct yourself in the manner in which some of the ignorance one do. When people see you, they see the ignorance. When they see you, they see someone that's lost. We don't value anything. There's no value system amongst us anymore. So I get why when we walk in the store, folks are watching us. I get why when someone of another race is walking down the street, they clutch their purse. I get it. I get when they see more than 5 of us congregate in the area, they tend to leave. I understand now. I totally understand. And it's about time that we start understanding on a collective level. And I know I'm not going to get as much support. I've been told many times I'm cooning. You see what I'm saying? I self-hate. I hate myself. I hate my group. And I get that some of the times folks' perception of you becomes their reality, but that's their reality. Don't be afraid to speak up and speak your truth. But also, I was raised that the first person that you can't bullshit is yourself. So I would never lie to myself, especially if I see something or if I see our community in the state that it's in, and act like it's not in the state that it's in. I'm not going to lie to myself. I would never bring myself to that point of degree where lying to myself to get through the day or to just exist and to overlook and not know that if I don't say anything, I'm just as complicit to the people that aren't saying anything, that's contributing to this. My silence would be a contribution to the dysfunction in the black community. That's why I refuse to do it. I can care less, honestly, what people say about me and what they think about my views. My views are my views. And I think for the most part, people need to be cool with that, sit in that. Cherish that. Let that be you. It's okay to have your own views and to be opposite of the majority or outside of the majority. I'd rather ride with 5 lions than 100 sheep any day of the week. I'd rather keep my circle so small because most of the time, people that have small circles don't have a lot of friends, right? Most of the time be the greatest spirits because they're not going to allow anybody or anyone or anything to influence who they are, how they carry themselves, how they conduct themselves. Some people call that leadership. We lack that a lot in our community. But at some point in time, this has to be a conversation that has to be had. So while we letting filth like Kevin Gates exist, we're still entertaining him, giving him an audience. And when I say audience, your ear. Paying attention to somebody who's irrelevant. I tell you, man, Harriet Tubman said, I could have freed 100 more slaves if they knew they were slaves. And we don't know exactly how many slaves Harriet Tubman freed. I'm sure it was plenty. And I'm sure those that she freed then freed other people. But it was the thought that I need to free them, regardless of if all of them never get free, regardless of who the individual is that I free. It's the fact that I'm freeing people that have been oppressed and are being oppressed. And my thing is, I take the same approach when it comes to talking to black folks about our dirty laundry. My message is not going to resonate with everybody. It's not supposed to. Everybody's not going to get it. I'm not going to be like Joe Buddens or all these other great podcasters out there. I'm not going to have the biggest YouTube channel. I'm not even going to get the support and the money that y'all throw at them. I understand that. My thing is, as long as I reach those I'm supposed to reach, that's what matters. Tupac said he might not be able to fight the revolution, but he's going to spark the mind that's going to begin the revolution. And that was from a man that died when he was 25. Right? He was still ignorant too. But just imagine if he would have lived to be 30. If he was as brilliant and as smart as he was, and he had a lot of maturing and growing up to do still, imagine if he would have lived to be 40, if he would have lived to be 50. Just imagine. And this segues right into stereotypes. Yo, I was watching the Stranger Things, their most recent season. I enjoyed the show. Again, I said that before. And it's only one black woman on the show. And, well, one black girl on the show, who's like a part of the main group of characters in the show. And she looks to be no more than 11, 12 years old. And I was cool. Like, all right, cool. We got some kind of representation in this show that I enjoy, I thought, initially. But then, as they've revealed her character and they wrote her script and wrote her character, I said to myself, where's her mother? Where's her father? Why would you allow your child to live up to the tropes and be typecast to play roles that are stereotypical of black women? Now, this is a young girl, but she got the mannerisms of the 30-year-old black woman who got 2 or 3 kids, that's been working 12 hours a day. She's swearing, she's sassy, she's disagreeable, she's masculine. Nothing's soft about her. Nothing is inviting about her. She's the only female character with these traits in the entire show. And to get through the show, I gotta turn that off in my head, because I'm like, I like the show so much. I gotta turn my rational mind off and just be entertained. There's certain times where I gotta do that. I don't know if other folks can relate to that. Because you'll be walking around like, damn, why is that way? Why is that this way? Why is this that way? But I'm like, representation matters. We fought so many years to be represented and have folks that look like us be the representation of us. We fought for equality and other things, civil rights, so on and etc. And in 2022, we wonder why folks view us the way they view us. All money isn't good money. And I get it. You get opportunity, you want to make the best of it. I totally understand that. I'm one that tells folks all the time, go for it. Go for it. But don't go for that. Don't go for a role that's going to demean you as a woman, demean your group, and label you as the stereotypical black woman. Because then the roles get smaller for you, right? There's only one role they start to shoehorn you in. And this is what I see going on most of the time on the big screen. In a lot of cases in this situation, the Stranger Things show with this young black girl. Why couldn't she be the smart, charismatic, right? Sensitive, caring, inviting, open one? Why can't she cry at a drop of a dime? Why can't she trip and fall and hurt her knee and start crying and seek for somebody to help her? Why she got to be the independent, I'm going to tell you what to do, I'm the boss, hell what you got to say, I know more than you. You see, this is, it's so eerie and scary that you can just connect it to our community and the way our community is set up and who runs our community. And that young black woman in that show she's a bioptic. How could I put this? She's an example of what black women are today. For the most part, a lot of them, maybe not all of them. But she's the quintessential black woman today. And if you can't tell her nothing, what do we got, black people? At that age, she's that way. And you might just say, well, she's just acting. She's just acting. That's a manifestation of what she grew up around and what she saw in her home. Because how many people can look at that show and when you see that young black girl, and if you're black and you're honest, you be like, damn, I see my mama. I see a younger version of my mama. I see a younger version of my sister. I see a younger version of my auntie. Well, damn, it's quite eerie that she acts just like them. Again, we so concerned about what people think of us, but we contribute to what people think of us. So since you know you contribute to what people think of you and how they view you, why don't you create an idea in their mind that's more favorable to you? Wouldn't that be the most logical thing to do? Wouldn't that be the most sensible thing to do? Why wouldn't you want to do that when you can do that? Those are questions that I pose. You don't want to continue to be typecast. You don't want to continue to be stereocast. And this doesn't just go just for black women. This goes for black men too. You don't want to be considered the gangster, the gangbanger, the one that's ignorant, the one that's going to do the time in jail, the one that's going to kill another black man. Change the perception. Have some values. Stand for something. Don't fall for everything. I know it's easier said than done, but at some point in time, we got to take accountability. If we're so wound up what is on social media, and if we're so caught up in our entertainment, and it means so much to us, why don't we start entertainment that's going to be reflective of bettering our psyche about how we feel about ourselves? Because there's a lot of mental illness going on in the community, but also self-hatred. A lot of us don't love ourselves the way we're supposed to. A lot of us are dealing with insecurities that never been addressed, that have been given to us from our childhood. So when do we get to address that? When does that get to be a topic of discussion that we take serious as black people? That's what I want to know. Or do we just not take it serious at all? I tell you, man, self-hatred, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. It's I tell you, it's integration. Feeling that other people's ice is colder than yours. And it's the same ice. They got the same ice you got. But you just don't love yourself enough. You don't care enough about yourself and value yourself in the way that they value themselves. So you're willing to bend a knee at every chance you get to get patted on the head and told you're doing a good job and keep up the good work. You got to emancipate your mind from mental slavery. And that's not something that I made up. Bob Marley said that. Marcus Garvey said that. When you can't liberate this, you're going to be a slave forever. If you can't liberate your cabeza, if it doesn't start here for you, if you don't value what's being stored here, if this isn't your soul of contention on elevating this, you're really lost. Guys, I'm Troy. This is Black Talk Today podcast. Don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube to this podcast channel. But if you go to my main page, which is this channel's page, I have channel links to my other pages. Different content. You might find something over there that you enjoy. I diversified my brand, diversified myself, so I don't just talk about the baseline things. I'm a well-rounded person. I address other topics. I have a firearm channel where I repair, I install accessories to my firearms. I'm a Second Amendment advocate. But you gotta want to support content like this. You gotta want to support people like me. And if you do, I appreciate it. Catch you guys this Friday. The next podcast. I'm Troy. Be safe. Peace.